Nicolau. I'm a professor of theology here at Fordham. Here he is, one of our panelists. You're counting.
Grand entrance.
No, you were counting on Greek time.
I was.
That's the thing. Okay, so we're good. We're all here. So again, my name is Aristotle Nicolau. I'm a professor of theology. I hold the Archbishop Dimitriou's chair in Orthodox theology and culture. And together with my colleague George Nimakopoulos, who's over here, we are co-founders of the Orthodox Christian Studies Center. The other really important thing that you need to know about me is that I'm the one here who knows the least about things that are happening in the Ukraine and Russia and Putin and religion. So I'm going to be the one who speaks the least here. But what I need to do is introduce to you the panel. And the structure will be that they will each, because we really want this to be more of a conversation style, they will each give a short 5-minute presentation. And then we will open up the forum to a discussion amongst themselves with members of the audience. We will be taking questions. However, the questions will be in the form of note cards. So you should have note cards, and we will ask you, if you do have a question, to please write your question, and the questions will come to me, and I will be going through the questions and delivering them to the panelists. As you may discern, it may be difficult to really get through all the questions, so we ask for your patience and forgiveness with that, but we do encourage you to please write down any and all questions that you would hope to be addressed through the panel. Okay. So, welcome to Putin, Religion, and Ukraine, our panel. I want to introduce the panelists and just really just get going from here. I'll begin with I'll follow sort of the order here at the table. And first we have Olena Nikolayenko, who is an assistant professor of political science at Fordham University. She received her PhD from the University of Toronto and held a postdoctoral fellowship at Stanford University's Center on Democracy, Development, and the Rule of Law. Her current book project focuses on nonviolent youth movements in post-communist states. Next we have Adrian Kereknitsky, who is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, US, where he co-directs Ukraine programs. He is also the founder and managing partner of the Myrmidon Group, a business advisory, and co-executive director of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter. For 12 years, he was the president and CEO of Freedom House, a major US-based pro-democracy non-governmental organization. Then we have Rabbi Yaakov Dov Bleich, co-founder of the Ukrainian Council of Churches and Religious Organizations, and vice president of the World Jewish Congress, and chief rabbi of Ukraine since 1990. And then we have Father Kirill Havarun, who is closely connected with Ukraine. He chaired the Department of External Relations of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. During the last 2 years, he has been a research fellow at Yale University. He has written extensively on the Maidan and the presence of the church at the Maidan. Among his most recent publications is a wonderful article that I highly recommend to you entitled Church in the Bloodlands, published in the October issue of the magazine First Things. And then we have, finally, Father Peter Galadza, who is the Kuhl Family Professor of Liturgy at the Sheptytsky Institute of Eastern Christian Studies at St. Paul University in Ottawa, Canada, and an archpriest of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. He is a former Harvard University Fellow and editor of Logos, a journal of Eastern Christian Studies. Let me just simply say, on behalf of Dr. Nimakopoulos, George, and our advisory council, it's really a great honor and privilege that our center is fostering this kind of critical conversation of events in the world, important world events, especially as they intersect with Orthodox Christianity and Christianity more broadly.
Right. I think we need to start our discussion concerning the triangle of Putin, Ukraine, and religion with the Maidan, because the Maidan started the whole story. I think Maidan was indeed, it was not just a political or social event, it was It was to a great extent a religious event. It was a religious happening. In many senses, well, people came to the Maidan, they prayed together, they prayed so in such a mass that we can say that the prayers on the Maidan probably were one of the most massive collective prayers in Europe. People expressed themselves through the religious symbols. They brought icons, they used slogans from the Bible, they appealed to ethical values with very emphatic religious language. So Maidan was a religious event. In this sense, I would answer the question of Olena concerning compatibility of religion and democracy. Maidan demonstrated that democracy and religion are compatible, because people came to Maidan in order to pursue democratic values, and they expressed their desire for the democracy, for democratic values, through the religious terms. And the churches were there on the Maidan. And it was a unique momentum for the churches to contribute to the formation of the civil society on the Maidan, to contribute to the development of democracy of Ukraine, and they did so. Ukrainian society is not quite a post-secular or a secular. It's not even a post-secular society. In some sense, it is a pre-modern society, because it never lost its religion. Even in the Soviet Union, the Ukrainian people remained religious, especially in the western part of the country. And this almost pre-modern, attitude to religion expressed itself very obviously on the Maidan. So Maidan was a religious phenomenon, a phenomenon which also led to democratic changes in the Ukrainian society. Then the anti-Maidan happened and continues even now in the east of the country. We can see the resistance of the local population in the east, and more important, the resistance of Moscow to the changes in Ukraine as a sort of anti-Maidan. I would present the scenarios of the anti-Maidan, both during the Maidan, during the winter, last winter, and now the scenario of resistance to the changes in Ukraine, the scenario of aggression, invasion of Ukraine, as a kind of mirror of what happened in Kiev on the Maidan. But not exactly what happened on the Maidan, but how Maidan was perceived by those who didn't like it. What I mean, there was a wrong, a distorted picture propagated from the Russian media and from some media in Ukraine about, with a certain projection of a certain interpretation of the Maidan. And this picture was distorted. And then what happened in the East is exactly a mirroring of this distorted picture. And because in this distorted picture of the propaganda concerning the Maidan, which presented Maidan as a violent event, with far-right extremism and with different outbreaks of violence, exactly this picture was implemented in the anti-Maidan. And because the Maidan initially was a religious event, its distorted picture also reflected this religion component and was implemented in this. So we see now the anti-Maidan, which is going on in the east of the country, as a religious phenomenon as well. But this is a different kind of religious phenomenon. So we speak about two different approaches to religion on the Maidan and in the east of Ukraine right now. And the token, the proof of this religious dimension of the resistance in the east of the country are such things as for instance, the Russian Orthodox Army, or people who, the separatists, the terrorists who fight in the east. They also bring their icons, you know, they get their blessing, they have their priests who bless them, so they are motivated religiously. The revolution of dignity on the Maidan had a counter-revolution of what I call paternalism in the east of the country. And both revolutions have developed their own narratives, and each narrative features a very strong religious language. I would like to address shortly what kind of religious language or what kind of religious narrative works in the east of the country, in the east of Ukraine. I would interpret this narrative, this language, or this religious phenomenon, or socio-political, religious phenomenon, in terms of civil religion, in terms which are familiar to the American public, because, well, the concept of civil religion was invented here by the sociologist Robert Bellah, who interpreted the American Civil War fight for independence as a civil religion. So I would say that this is a kind of civil religion that which is being designed, constructed to handle as a weapon to the fighters in the east of the country. This civil religion is a strange thing. It is strangely constructed. It combines the element of the old imperial Russian narrative, which includes such notions as Moscow the Third Rome, for instance. It also includes some elements of the Soviet period, with featuring like persons like Stalin, who is on the saint list of the saints of this civil religion. And it also features some modern figures, like Putin, who is also a kind of prophet of this civil religion. The difference, well, the idea of the American civil religion was to legitimize the American government when the founders of the American state had to legitimize somehow themselves vis-a-vis the British monarchy, divine monarchy, and so forth. They created this kind of civil religion for their own legitimization. Putin needs this kind of legitimization as well, when other mechanisms of legitimization don't work. There are no elections in Russia, so there are no legal, common political means to legitimize this regime, so he needs a civil religion. And this civil religion has been designed not by the politicians, like in the case of the US, but by the church. And this is the difference. So the church has contributed significantly to setting a special civil religion for the Russian political regime. If you take the American civil religion, which is based on the essentially biblical textual values, like the Declaration of Independence, the American Constitution, which are like biblical texts. In case of Russia, the councils play this role, because the councils are important, more important even than the texts for the Orthodox tradition. Therefore, such councils as the World Russian Council, Всемирный Русский Народный Собор, it's a kind of conciliar way of setting up, legitimizing this civil religion. Interestingly, that this civil religion has been designed by the church, but it is not the church which is the protagonist of this civil religion. That's why I think there is no surprise that the support of Putin is higher than the support of the patriarch, because in this civil religion, in which most Russians believe, actually, it is not the church. It is not the church which is the protagonist. It is the politicians, and well, the politician number one and the only one actually in Russia, which is a key figure. The most powerful part of this civil religion is the concept of Russian world. It is a part of this narrative. It is a complex thing. It is a complex concept. It was invented, I think it was coined in late 1990s by some Russian political technologists, like Sheprovitsky, I think, who are following somehow the German ideas like of Herder in the 19th century Germany, who wanted to create the idea of culture, Russian culture, as overarching over the territories which the Soviet Union lost. They invented this kind of Russian world, the idea of Russian world. And then the church took over and enhanced this concept. So this is a very huge mobilizing force which drives people to kill each other in the east of the country, unfortunately. That's why if we want to help Ukraine, first I think we need to deconstruct this kind of civil religion, which is unfortunately very harmful to Ukraine. Thank you.